What's up, everybody? We are here with a tier list, and we're going to be ranking all of the legendary cards in the first chapter of Disney Lorcana. And hopefully this will give you some information on which cards you want to buy or which cards you are, going to be really excited to open, which cards you're really not excited to open. And well, hopefully it's entertaining. Let's just get right into it.
I love that somebody's going to open a legendary card, run to this video, and see Jay going like, see... "Your card is trash. Throw it in the bin."
And then they will.
I was just going to mention how graceful your intro was compared to David's, since he's not here today.
Yes, I will mention David has taken ill and will not be making it to this tier list, but we will try to simulate his takes as best we can. Yeah. So let's go ahead and start off with this first one. We've got Beast. It is a green card, and it's got some stats and some lore, and I'll probably pop it up on the screen so you guys can read it. I think we all know what it does.
Do you want me to say it out loud?
I don't know.
Should we?
It's on a podcast. You can read it if you want to read it.
It's just a 4/4 with 2 lore, 5 cost, unequal, and he has rush, and his ability is when you play him, exert all your opponent's characters that have a damage on them.
All right.
That's kind of the gist.
Good job. So, Jay, because you read it, what's your tier? What tier are you placing Beast in?
This is probably what's funny is this is probably the one legendary I haven't played. In any of my decks.
Wow. Well,
and I play green a lot.
You play a lot of green, so I think you know what that means.
He might not be that good. I don't know. He just doesn't fit. What's weird about him is he doesn't really fit the archetype that green presents itself to me.
No, he doesn't at all.
Green is all about making your opponent. I guess the argument is if you're giving them rush, they're going to be damaging themselves, and then when you play them, you
reckless.
Yeah, reckless. What did I say?
He said rush.
Yeah, if you're going to be giving them all reckless, then maybe they're going to be damaging themselves. I don't know. I still don't think he's unequal. If I'm playing unequal cards in Emerald,
it's not going to be this.
It's going to be Cusco. It's going to be Genie.
He's the same cost as Cusco too,
and he's worse
by a lot.
I mean, Cusco is probably the best card in the game, so you can be worse than Cusco and still be playable. But I don't know if this is even better than Mad Hatter. I think I'd rather have Mad Hatter most of the time.
Yeah, probably.
Jim, what? Well, okay, hang on. Give me your tier, and then we'll move on to Jim real quick.
I'll put C.
C. All right, Jim.
I was leaning, I was trying to talk myself out of unplayable, but it's not that it's a bad card per se. It's just in comparison, like you guys just said, to the Cusco, to the Mad Hatter. It's quest for less. It just feels like a lot of setup to try to do that exert play that, you don't even have to necessarily fight in with Beast to do that. So maybe you pair that with Steel, because there's a lot of ping damage in Steel and challengers that you're wanting to attack in. So it's you could come up with some synergy there, but that's kind of all that my head's thinking there. And I'm it just doesn't feel that strong still. So I'd probably say unplayable.
So I tried that deck. I built a deck around Beast, and it was Emerald Steel, and it was ping a bunch of damage and try and play Beast. I can't remember whether or not I won or lost that game, but Beast did not play a role in the game whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like anything was missing because of that. I also think that he is unplayable. I don't think he's the worst card ever, but I don't think he goes in any green decks that exist right now. This could change in the future, but I think right now it is unplayable.
Interesting. I don't think Rush is irrelevant in this game. I think Rush is really good.
That's true.
But also, there's Rafiki that costs 2 less and has only
just
one less strength, 1 less willpower. He's pretty bad. I'm not gonna say unplayable.
He only has 2 lore too for a 5 cost unequal character.
Yeah, which
you really want to be
great.
a 3 lore for that. I mean, somewhere between C and unplayable. I think on our previous tier list we may have had a D tier, so this would have probably gone in the D tier.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
D might as well be unplayable. So
oh god,
I'm putting it there. We're starting off strong.
Wow.
We're starting off strong. This could change in the future if things enable his ability. But his ability, I don't think is even. We didn't even talk about his ability. The fact that when he comes down, he exhausts all of your opponent's damaged characters. You still have to have something on your board to like even make that valuable to you. So it requires setup.
Well, it's him because he has rush.
Sure. Terrible. Like, if that's what you're using him for, no, I can't help you.
Just play red and do the board clear at that point.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so moving on to a more interesting card. I don't know where this one's going to land. We've got Belle. Jay, take it away.
She's a 4-cost inkable, 2/4, 1 lore. Basically, you can ink an extra card during your turn, and then if you have 10 or more ink in your inkwell, then she has +4 lore. So quests for 5. I went first last time. Jim, what do you think?
Cool. I do really like this card. I think it's hard to pull off the Ink 2 unless you're specifically either doing a whole new world or a lot of Amethyst card draw. It's kind of hard to make that happen, but it's doable on some turns. So it's not. There's some good ramp attached to it. I actually do think it's a good win condition. I think games can go to 10 pretty easily, even without putting 2 down a turn. So it is a threat that just does have to be looked at and considered. So even with all that said, though, I think when people first saw this, they were like, oh my gosh, huge ramp, can quest for 5, easy S tier. I actually don't think it's an S tier card. I think you really do have to build around this to try to get the maximum value for that. And if you're doing that, you're probably making suboptimal plays. I think if this card kind of naturally gets to 10, you're feeling great. Specifically with the 2 costs that can just get inked when it...
Grandma,
good old grandma. When she gets removed from the field, she just goes to your inkwell. That's probably how you're getting here. So I put it as a solid A, but I'm not willing to put it at S.
That's fair. I think I'm in the same boat as you. I think it can be just a good control finisher, right? Like if you're playing a deck that wants to go long anyway, 5 lore on a character is really sweet. But I think we've seen that it's a little bit of a trap to go after the first part of her ability, inking twice every turn. I think some decks can do it. I think it's really fun to try and do it. I think it feels like an alternate win condition. Those cards always feel super fun to try and mess around with, but I don't know if it's like super competitive in that environment. So I think I would also put it in an A.
Yeah, so for me, this character goes in a very specific deck. And not only that, she's probably the most what's the perfect example of what I think a legendary could be, because she's so niche, but also super powerful if you're able to make it work.
Yeah,
which is cool. Like that's like some of the funnest cards in card games are cards like this.
Yeah, agreed.
I think if any of these legendaries has the potential to be broken, it's her. In my opinion.
That's true.
And in 5 sets, we might be like, wow, Belle is insane. Right now, she doesn't feel that way. She just feels like a really good blue card that if you get to 10 ink, then you drop her and she quests for 5 at the end of the game. I'll go with y'all and say A. I think that's fine.
I think there's an argument for B, because not every blue deck wants it, but
I'd probably say B.
Think it's powerful enough to be A.
There's 2 of you at A already, so we'll stay with that.
B
I do think
plus.
initial reactions, people would be like, clear S tier card, and I think A feels a bit more correct for that one.
Yep. All right, moving on to Elsa. We got Amethyst Elsa.
Oh yeah, so she's an 8 cost, unequal, 4/6 with 3 lore. She has shift 6, and her ability is when you play her, you exhaust 2 of your opponent's characters, and they don't ready during their ready step of the next turn. I think this character is super good.
Same.
The only reason I would keep from putting her in the S tier is because she costs 8, and you don't always get to 8 with purple. but when you play her, she just like wins you the game sometimes.
Yeah,
A lot of the time.
insanely impactful enters
Yeah.
the battlefield ability, and those are always really good. She has 3 lore,
Yeah.
massive. She can come down on 6, which is pretty sweet. Decent stats. I think that there's really like not that much to dislike about Elsa.
I would say the stuff I don't like that I don't like about her is if you want to be able to play her as a shift, is you have to put the other Elsas in your deck, and the other Elsas are not good characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind the 3-cost Elsa. I think it's worse than it used to be in our little limited tiny like
Yeah.
metagame with 20 cards, but I potentially still put that card in my deck. I don't ever play the 4-cost except for that one video that I tried it out in.
Yeah.
Never going in another deck of mine until it does. But I don't know. I think it's A tier. I don't think it's S tier because I don't think it goes in every single Amethyst deck that
I
exists.
think I agree.
But I think in the ones that it is good in, it's like one of the best cards.
Yep. For sure.
Jim,
anything
do you
to
concur?
add?
Do you disagree?
I think an important thing is if you're not super familiar with the cards, you would look at that and say, why is that any different than Beast? Because they're both exerting cards on play. Beast can attack in, Elsa can't, but Elsa has more lore that she can quest for. But the reason it's so much better is because they can't ready on their turn.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no restrictions to which ones you can choose to face that. And so you don't have to attack in to get the value out of that. You're essentially pseudo removing those cards from the game for 2 turns, unless they have the shenanigans to be able to ready but not quest. But at that point, who cares? You've already gotten your value. So that late in the game, you can, unless they're just blowing you out of the water, it's kind of like that back and forth where you are eliminating 2 of their like best characters right off the bat.
It's a huge tempo thing at late game when you're playing it. So, I mean, the most impactful time to have tempo gain or loss.
Exactly.
100%.
And so I was leaning towards B just because it's an 8-cost that you can't ink, but I'm fine with it being A. I do think that there's enough good things going on with it that in an Amethyst deck, if you get that far into the game and you've drawn out and you probably have a wide board and can just win the next turn after you play this card most times. So,
yeah. Okay.
I like it a lot.
Real quick thing about Beast, actually, that I hadn't considered before you mentioned the difference is that Beast can theoretically hit Cusco and Elsa can't.
True.
If Cusco's damaged, or if you have some AoE damage and then he takes a damage and you can do the thing with Beast. I think that's maybe Beast sees play as a tech card at some point in time if Cusco is really oppressive, which I don't know. I think he probably will be, but I think as of now.
But the problem with that is you can't target Cusco with a ping damage unless it's Tinkerbell.
Yeah, it has to be
or
AoE.
Swords.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's like you have
it's a lot of setup and a lot of ink and a lot. Yeah. All right. We gotta move on to Gantu, everybody's favorite. Everybody's favorite S tier legendary.
I'm not even gonna go again. I'm not even gonna mention what he does.
Gantu's unplayable.
Put him on unplayable.
All right, moving on to Hades.
Unless you're Sir Christopher.
Is there any world in which David stands up for Gantu?
Oh, he would try.
Because he has 4 of them. He pulled 4.
All right, we're not even going to entertain that. Why is he so bad? All right, Hades.
7 cost, unequal, 3/6, 2 lore, and he says when you play this character into the field, you put one of your opponent's characters into their inkwell face down.
I'm just going to go ahead and just put him right up here.
S tier.
I'm just gonna put him right up there. I think we all would agree, I hope, that this is just nuts. It's a very similar to Dragon Maleficent, but it costs 2 less, which is hugely relevant.
Yep.
And at that point in the game, your opponent doesn't need the ink anyway, unless they're playing Bell, and then maybe you just hit Bell with it. Exactly. So I think, kind of easy to see why it's so good. I think a card that has good stats on its own and removes one of your opponent's things immediately upon entering play, being able to hit something that they just played that is ready, insanely good. One of the highest value characters in the game. I think this goes in every blue deck.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why it's S
because
tier.
you're playing blue, you're ramping, so being 7 cost isn't an issue.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep,
Yep.
totally agree with all that. I think what's unfortunate about it not being like inkable is like outside of the ramp cards in Hades, why else would you play another uninkable card in this kind of deck? And so it just makes the other ones feel so much worse because it's just so universally good.
Yeah.
That it's like you always want to eliminate their characters. You always want to have another character on the board. It's just an easy like 1-for-1 free trade. Brilliant card.
Yep. Love it. All right. Moving on to Maleficent.
A 9 cost inkable 7/5 2 lore, and when you play her, you get to defeat one of your opponent's characters.
It's so much worse than Hades.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It is inkable, which is nice, but it costs 9. 9's a lot. You can really only play this with blue.
The only red deck that's playing this is playing blue as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think that alone makes it not S or A tier for me.
Yeah.
But
I think
in the deck that she does play in, which is red
It's
blue,
very
she's
impactful.
super good.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So are we thinking B here?
I was thinking B.
You're thinking B?
myself.
B or
yeah.
C?
It's funny because it does the same thing as Hades, basically with similar enough stats, but in the deck that you're wanting to just play that huge control game, this is the exact card you want in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
I'll put it in B. I think, yeah, in that deck, very strong. I
Yeah.
think probably doesn't go in any other decks ever because it's so
And
expensive.
Hades still goes in that deck too.
Yep.
So-
All right. Moving on to Mickey Mouse. Brave little Taylor.
8
Ooh.
cost inkable 5/5 evasive with 4 lore.
It's a
I
lot of
still
lore.
don't know. I still don't
That's
know.
such a weird
I don't
one to
either.
try to evaluate.
Honestly, I don't know. I think I think it's C tier, honestly.
I think this character goes into the same deck that Maleficent goes into.
Probably.
If you're playing red, you're never getting late enough game for this. Like, you're not going to have the card advantage to ink that far unless you're playing blue.
If this had ward instead of evasive, I think it would be
Mm,
much higher tier. I think evasive is pretty good, but it doesn't do anything the turn that it enters play, and your opponent just plays their Hades and puts it in your inkwell, and then you're sad, and you
Yeah.
didn't do
Yep.
anything for your 8 resources. So I think, I don't know, I'm gonna lobby for C tier here. I don't think it's better than Maleficent in the deck that it goes in,
Yeah.
and I mean it's 4 ink is a lot. It's powerful, but it also just dies to removal.
Yeah. And in the deck that you're ramping to 8, you're also probably going to get to 10 easily and Bell quest for 5.
True.
I feel like this
So-
one I put 1 or 2 in, but I'm like not crazy about it. I think C is probably fair.
All right, it's a C. We're moving on to Rapunzel,
Mhm.
one of my favorite cards in this entire game.
This is what a
4
legendary
cost,
should be.
4 cost inkable 1/5 2 lore, and she says when you play her, you heal up to 3 from an ally or a friendly character. I don't know what it says, and you draw that many cards, however much you healed. I'm not actually reading these cards. I'm just
You're
giving
just going
it
based off of
what I
you know.
remember.
I love it.
That's incredible.
I love it. What do you guys think about this one?
I can start with this one. I love this card. I think in Amber, it has a few card draw abilities, but like card draw just is so sick in this game. And so the fact that you don't strictly have to rely on Amethyst to use card draw just gives that whole color like wheel so much flexibility.
We all think this is S, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
This
Cool.
card.
I just didn't know if the stats would hold you back, but I'm
Oh
just
no!
like,
Oh no! I think
draw
the stats
3?
are.
Come
I think
on.
the stats are fine. I think like
Perfect.
like
a 4
for
cost with 5 health that
with
quest
five,
for 2.
5 health and 2. Yeah, quest for 2. Like it's your opponent doesn't really like care that much to deal with it because it's like it's kind of innocuous once it hits the field, but
Mm-hmm.
2 lore is really relevant. 5 health is like a good amount, and the card draw is insane. This goes in every single Amber deck that I play, and I cannot possibly imagine an Amber deck that doesn't want this card.
Yep.
Completely agree.
Sweet.
Okay, good.
All right. This one may be a little bit more interesting. We got John Silver.
6 cost, 5/5, 2 lore, and he says when played and when questing, choose an opponent's character and give them reckless.
You like this card a
Essentially.
lot.
I do really like this card, but I put it in all of my green decks. But what's really funny is most of the time I end up having to ink him because I'm playing a Cusco or I have a Genie in hand that's a 6
Yeah.
cost unequal, and I have to play Genie, so I might as well ink this. But I still think he's incredible. I mean, anything that you're playing 6 or more, you kind of want to have some kind of on play effect, and his is pretty relevant. Plus, he doesn't have insane stats for 6 cost, but 5 health is not easy to defeat. Plus, he has 5 strength. So, I mean, he's taking out most things that are going to swing into him. He's probably taking 2 hits sometimes. And then giving reckless is not relevant, especially in the late game when they have lethal on board and you can give one of their guys reckless, their guy that has a Mad Hatter or something. Give Bell reckless. I don't know. I think it's pretty solid. I would put him in A tier.
I think I agree with that because you're essentially preventing your opponent from questing with one of their characters like every turn that this guy gets to stay on the field, which is huge, especially in the late game scenario where you're sort of trading back and forth, trying not to let the other person quest to victory. This is just one more card that can help you prevent your opponent from doing that. So I agree that I think it's A tier.
Yeah, I think I'm on like that B plus A minus range with him just because just green is so sick around that 5 to 6 range. But as a standalone card, it's better than Maleficent. I probably don't like it as much as Elsa, but the fact that it can just go in your ink and you're never mad to play it, it's like, yeah, you're always gonna be excited about it. So I'm cool with that.
Totally. All right. There we go. We
I
got
meant
3
to ask
left.
if going from left to right, which one is like better than the other one?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we
like
can...
is Hades
I don't
better
know.
than Rapunzel?
I don't know. That's tough.
I'd say yeah. I think yeah.
I think
So
it's probably like this almost.
Okay. That's good with me.
I would swap Bell and John Silver, but I'm cool with it if you guys like that.
I think John Silver is a little bit better than Bell.
That's cool.
Like universally better.
I think Bell gets better as time goes on.
I tend to agree with that. All right.
Stitch.
We got Stitch.
Carefree Surfer, 7 cost, inkable, 4/8, 2 lore, not 1. This image is wrong.
It is.
And his ability is when you play him, if you have 2 other characters, then you draw 2 cards.
Drawing cards.
Super good. I think this goes in pretty much all of my Amber decks along with Rapunzel, and they both draw you. I mean, those 2 cards alone is 5 cards that you're drawing over the course of the game if you're able to make them trigger.
Yeah, it is a lot of cards.
He's got 8 health, so he's not dying anytime soon. He quests for 2. I like this card. I like it. Is he S tier though? It's the question, or is he just an A? What do you think?
I'm feeling
it seems like our
A.
distinction, but like our distinction for S is like it just goes in every deck that uses that color.
I don't know if this goes in every Amber deck because it costs
so
7.
Close. It's so close.
I think just because it costs 7, not every single deck can get 7.
Right. Like
but
Hades
it is like right on the bubble. Like if this was A, it would be the top of A, I think.
I think I agree with that. It's a little weird because it almost feels like a little bit of a win more. Like if you already have 2 other characters out, you're probably doing pretty well. And so it's almost just kind of eliminating their ability to come back. But
it's not. I think the way that the game works in that you can play 2 characters the turn before, and your opponent like hardly has the ability to deal with those 2 characters because they can't attack into them. You could just drop this the next turn, refill your hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like bottom of S or top of A. I could be bought into S tier because of how impactful the card draw is. Like
I can
by
go with
itself,
A+.
But
I'd say top of A.
I think I was leaning more towards A than I was S.
All right, top of A. I think we're all pretty hyped on this card in general, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think Rapunzel's significantly better.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right,
Taka.
last 2 cards.
6 costs, inkable, 5/5, 2 lore, and when she challenges and banishes a character, you gain 2 lore. Yep. Sounds about right. I haven't played this card that much. I think she's decent.
I've played it a few games.
So she has the exact same stat line as John Silver, except
I think she's worse than John Silver.
I think so too.
Like
I'm
a lot
say
worse.
B.
Yeah. You think C, Jim?
High C, low B, but I'm fine with B. I just feel like it's just a weird, like, it's not strong enough stats for me to be like, oh, I feel like even 5/6 would be like, I really like this card. The 5 health is like,
yeah, 5 health for something that you want to be challenging with multiple times is a little weak. It also doesn't have built-in
that too.
Yeah, but stealing is so much better than doing that, and he costs 1 less if you shift it, and it essentially has rush when you do that. This doesn't have rush built in, so you have to put it in a very specific deck, in my opinion.
Yeah, and hope that they don't play Moana that kills it. So
right, just instantly kills it. So I think this is C, personally.
Okay,
I think it might be worse than Mickey.
After him reminding me that there's a silver bullet with Moana, it does actually make me think it's less than B now.
Nobody's ever going to play that Moana card. Like, if you do, it's because you've lost too many times in your locals to this card, and you're like, I'm going to show them. But
the fact that it exists, though.
But there's a chance. Yeah. It can't get higher than this, because when it does go higher than this, then people start playing that Moana.
You're right.
So
you're right. I think you're right.
The only reason I'm putting it under Mickey is because it doesn't have the same impact as Mickey when it does the thing that it wants to do. I don't know. I think they're probably pretty similar, because you get to challenge and you basically get to challenge and quest at the same time.
It feels like a high floor, low ceiling kind of card, where Mickey kind of has a little bit more like scalability, but
potentially
it's not as exciting.
Yeah, it is cheaper, so that's relevant. But I don't know. These are pretty similar. These could probably be interchangeable, in my opinion. And let's hit this last one, and then we'll be out of here. Well, let me channel David for a second. You guys are crazy. This card is so good. S tier. I'm gonna break this and show you guys.
He definitely probably thinks Taka is better than we're saying.
Was that good, David?
That was perfect.
That was great.
That was perfect.
David's gonna roast me. All right. Lastly,
Ursula, 7 costs, unequal, 2/8, 3 lore, and when you play her, each opponent loses 1 lore, and you draw a card for each lore that was lost that way. I like this character more than Mike does.
I don't mind it. I
also think it's a banger in multiplayer.
Absolutely.
Yes. S tier for sure.
S tier for multiplayer, 100%. If this was a multiplayer tier list, it would be top of S.
Whoa.
So what do you guys think? I'll go last on this one.
Okay, in my head it has to be worse than Stitch. Does it though?
Oh, you're at A. You're currently an A.
That's where my head's at. Yeah. So because Stitches is like, he can draw 2, Ursula, if it's a 1v1, can only draw 1. But you do lose a lore, so that's great. It can quest for 1 more than Stitch, so that's great. The 4/8 to 2/8, I'm not super worried about. And her not being able to be inked is definitely a hit against it. Man, that's tough. I like it. Yeah, I'm gonna say
A. I could dig that. I think it's probably like low A, high B, just because of like where it sits in its color. So I'm
surprised you're saying that high.
I do think it's good. Like the games where you played it against me, like it felt like you got a lot of value out of it. I think that's what it is. Just like a good value card. Huge, like, willpower stat, 3 lore, it immediately does something when it enters play. Like it has a lot of things going for it. I think just 7, like paying 7 for something uninkable is tough when you also want to play Elsa, which is an 8 cost uninkable, and you probably also want to play Dr. Facilier, which is a 7 cost uninkable.
These are good points.
So I think it just competes with a lot of other cards that you want to put in that slot, in that color. And that's the only reason why I would sort of deduct points from it, I guess. Like if it was inkable, easy A tier for me. I think I would even put it at the bottom of A, like right below Bell. I do think it's really good. Like the games where it was played against me, like I felt it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Well, number one, it's definitely worse than Elsa, right?
yeah.
Like it just doesn't have as much of an impact. Unless you're playing blue, you're playing this in the late game,
Mm-hmm.
and Elsa just like closes the game for you, whereas Ursula doesn't
extends the
feel
game.
like she does.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Also, I completely agree. I was gonna say I don't know what purple deck this goes into. That it feels good, unless you slot Ursula in instead of Elsa, and I don't think you do that. So
yeah, unless you like really like don't want to play the cheap Elsas, and you really don't think you can get to 8,
or if you're not playing Dr. Facilier,
right?
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll go with a high B.
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
I'm sort of high B, low A, but I think high B is like this feels right.
Yeah,
to me. So there you guys have it. Our legendary tier list. I mean, I kind of like the distribution of this. Like this feels pretty good. I maybe like one more in A, one or two fewer in unplayable. Like if it looked like this or like this, I think like this is pretty good. I think this. Let's just call it. I hope these get better one day.
Did any of us pull Beast out of our boxes?
I think I have one.
I didn't pull
Maybe.
one. I pulled like 3 Gantus.
Yeah.
And David pulled 4 Gantus.
That's incredible.
Oh man. Okay. Well, that's our legendary tier. Oh wow, I can't speak.
Legendary.
That is our legendary tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed that and found it entertaining. Hopefully, a little tiny bit useful. And we'll catch you guys on the next video.
Bye.
Bye,
Tell us how wrong we are.